All right, guys. Day 3 on these shenanigans. I think today we're gonna get a little bit further. I don't know that we're gonna finish everything, but I think we'll do pretty good. Let me show you where I'm at. There was a couple of things that I did do after turning off the camera just because it was getting too dark, but I'm really trying to put a bow on this thing and put that video out for you guys. So let me show you what I have. So I went ahead and I put some hardware on here. I put some hinges on the door and I put this little lock here. I may lock it, I may not. It doesn't matter that much. It's just gonna have a battery and a cheap little controller in it. But okay, so inside I put this little scrap piece here. I wasn't planning on putting this here, and hopefully it doesn't interfere with the battery, but I think I have plenty of room here still. And the reason why I needed to put this is to have a stop for the door. If I didn't have that stop, what was happening before was the door was actually swinging too far in, and then it was, you know, falling down to here, and I didn't want that. I wanted it to stop flush with this trim here. So that came out pretty good. I'm sure I may have some problems here down the road because this is a pretty snug fit, and once this thing starts getting wet, it's probably going to swell, so I may have to shave this down a little bit. Somehow at some point, unfortunately, I got a little bit out of square, but I don't even know if this solar panel is going to be enough to run those lights down there. So if this does work out and I really do like it, I can always remake this and reuse this for a birdhouse or something else. So I'm not too worried about that. I think I can reuse it if it doesn't work out for what I need it. But right now I'm happy with it. It's looking good. I might even put a little bit of stain on there just to have it blend a little more with like the fence in the background. And if you guys remember, the fence is kind of about this sort of color here. It's kind of like a dark cherry color. And so if I do that, it'll really help blend in with a lot of the mulch and other stuff that's down there. All right, so what I have left to do is I have the door on, I have the hardware on, I have the initial roof plate on. I need to find a way to mount that roof plate and the solar panel together, and I need to cut up the 4x4 that I'm going to be setting in the ground so that I can install this thing, and well, hopefully it works. This is going to be a lot of work to do if none of this works in the end, but I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. All right, guys, so we are back at the infamous honeydew scrap pile. So what I need to do is I need to find a good length 4x4 piece of a post that I can use. Remember, we're not setting this thing. If you watched my previous video, my behind the scenes video, you'll remember that I was planning on making it a full height. The box was going to be basically eye level and I'd be able to reach into it, but in reality, I don't need it to be that high. As you can see, I'm surrounded by very, very tall trees. So it's not helping me any to make it 6 feet or make it 2 feet. So I just need to hit the scrap pile and see what I can find. All right, so I found one of the longer pieces. I'm not sure how long this is. I don't have a tape measure on me, but we will measure it before we start doing some cutting. I suspect I'm only going to need about 12 inches in the ground because this entire thing is less than 3 feet. It's probably somewhere around 32 inches or something. We'll see. Okay, so we're looking at about 27 inches overall, which is plenty. Even if we bury that thing 12 inches in the ground, we still have over another foot, and we really only need maybe 8-9 inches of space to be able to mount the controller box on top of whatever space we want to have between the ground and the bottom of the controller box. And so at least 12 inches overall, I think, is going to be more than enough. Okay, so even if I push this all the way to the top, and you'll notice I cut the angle at the top of this 4x4 post so that we can rest the solar panel over it, and the corner of this post is not gonna interfere with that panel. And even if I push it all the way to the top to give me plenty of nailing space, I still have 18 inches to work with, which is more than enough to hold up this tiny little box. And obviously some of that space we're going to reserve for ground clearance, but again, like I said, even if it's, 12 or 10 inches in the ground with a little bit of concrete, we'll be good to go. This board is made of the same material that the controller box is made of, and so I am going to use this as a scrap piece to test out these random colors of stain that I have. Much like my scrap wood pile, I've got a scrap pile of stains. Most of these were random colors from when I was testing out blends for the fence. So they should be pretty similar in color to the fence. This is a straight Olympic Elite American Chestnut. We'll give that a shot. These small sample cans, these are great if you can find a color you like in this size. They're really good because it doesn't take a lot of stain if you're looking to color a small project. This little thing will last you quite a while. American Chestnut. Just a nice dark brown color. Looks like aged wood. I think that something like that would blend very well next to all the pine tree bark, because it's actually very, very similar color to a pine tree bark. This is another Olympic Elite Atlantis Cedar. Now keep in mind, all of these that I have here, these are oil-based. You can get these in a water-based. I just prefer these for outdoor projects because they do really soak into the wood and they do a great job of protecting the wood. It's a lot easier to refinish it in the future as well. Whereas water-based, you pretty much have to strip it back down to the bare wood to refinish it, and that's not fun at all. Very light color. Don't know if I like that one. Just a very, very light color. I'll give you guys a close-up of these three colors here in a second, but I think I'm liking that first one. First one was American Chestnut. So there you go. This one was a tinted shade. I can't read the tint on it, but it doesn't matter. It's barn red as far as I'm concerned. Very, very red. This was Atlantis Cedar, and this was American Chestnut. I kind of like the darks. I like that sort of simple brown kind of chocolate color that you get there, and I think that'll blend in really nice with the pine bark and the pine trees that are in that area. And that's really what I'm going for, is something that blends in with the landscape, not really something that sticks out like this. So I think that's the color I'm going to go with. So let's go ahead and grab the box and get to work. We got a little bit of sanding to do, and then we can get to staining. Just so you know, I'm using a very, very coarse grit. This is like a 60 or 80 grit. The reason why I'm doing that is because all of this is actually construction grade plywood. It's like 5/8 subflooring plywood. And so it's pretty rough, and it needs a good sanding to kind of smooth it down. Now keep in mind, I'm not looking to get this furniture smooth because it's going to be outdoors. I'm really just looking to knock down any burrs and make it smooth enough that it's going to accept the stain. I won't be staining the inside because, well, you know why. Nobody can see anything inside. All right. All right. Now, let's go get a good rag instead of a little piece of tissue. So if you don't know, whenever I'm staining, what I typically like to do is I'll get a small piece like this. I'll fold it over a few times. Until it's pretty small actually, and then give it one last fold at the end so I get a nice round tip, and then I can use that tip to apply the stain. So one myth about staining is that they always say, oh, always go with the grain, always go with the grain. And there's some truth to that, but don't feel like you have to be, I don't know, dogmatic about it. You know, if you want to go in circles like this to apply it and get into all the little grooves, especially if you have very uneven wood, you can go ahead and do that and then finish with the grain when you're done. You can come back over and just do a slight finish like this. So don't stress out if you start going in different directions or you feel like you have to. Just finish with the grain, but you don't have to start with the grain. The last thing you want to do is always check all your sides, because then you might forget one if you don't. You're gonna have to pull all your stuff back out again just to touch up that one little piece. You also want to go around and look for any drips. You don't want drips, because then those will leave dark spots or leave sticky spots that are hard to get clean. All right, I think we're done. Try to wipe the hardware a little bit while all this stuff is still wet. All right, guys, it's that time again. Let me see if I can get it in the picture. You see it right there? The sun's going down, so that, you know what that means. We're gonna have to leave the rest of this for another day, but I think we're in a good place. We got the box built, it's stained, we have the post in the ground, cemented, and it's ready for assembly. I think the only thing that's left to do now is to, I gotta get some bolts actually. I have to go to the hardware store and get some bolts and washers so that I can mount that solar panel onto that roof of that controller box, and then we're good to go. Then it's time to start running wires and hooking up batteries and getting lights going. So I'm pretty excited. We're almost there. We're almost there. So I guess I will save the rest of that for the next time. So until then, you guys be good. And I'll see you on the next one.